Welcome back, Guardians. In the last report, we briefly touched upon the Awoken, their occupation of the reef, and some of the information about their matriarchal structure. In a rough generalization, the Awoken hierarchy is controlled by females, a queen at top, seers beneath her, and then general substrates beneath them. There is an exception to this establishment, that of the queen's brother and the crows. Now, this exception could only be so because the queen, however ruthless she may be now, still seeks the counsel of her brother, or perhaps she requires his services, and to remove him would be more trouble than it is worth. With more information in this report, we hope to better describe the consistencies and inconsistencies of the Awoken people. The queen can be described as an individual of raw feminine power. She can be characterized as a loving mother and a ruthless father, a particularly dangerous combination, as she is both wise and forward with her power structure. The queen knows very well what she has at her possession, and how far the city consensus will strive to meet their demands. With all helps, it will not end in war between our two factions, but we must remain vigilant of that potential. The Queen of the Awoken is much as an enigma as the reef she rules. It is said that she won her crown through ruthlessness, and that she stands as the master of fallen House of Wolves in their place of their defeated Kel. The city rise spells an end to the Reef's age of isolation. The Queen will surely look to this new era as an opportunity, and the city in turn must look to her. The Reef-born Awoken have spent long ages out on the edge of everything, and that they may know the secrets of a terrible weight, the Queen most of all. One of the most dangerous machinations of the Queen of the Reef is that she controls what remains of the House of Wolves, at least for now. After defeating the Kel, she assumed control of the House of Wolves that occupied the Reef, and this is a direct quote from an Awoken Reef-born. The bulk of the House of Wolves now falls under control of the Queen of the Reef. There are many stories on how this came to be, but they are too varied for the truth to be separated from the rumor. As interesting as that quote is, it does not explain the questions we are asking. Throughout these reports, we have asked questions and we have only been given more questions. The elusive nature of the galaxy and age play into a particular problem of obtaining information. Regardless, we will do what we can to explain. Reportedly, there is unrest in the House of Wolves. Some not akin to welcoming a non-species Kel, the first Awoken or non-fallen in all of our library's information to achieve such a title. The true question is, can it last? The Queen has a powerful army of fallen at her disposal. Some left to the House of Exile on the moon. Others may have perpetuated the Archon priest Asgore escape from the prison of elders. And others, yet still, may plan for a coup d'etat against their new Awoken leadership. While information on Asgore is limited, he is no longer a threat as he attempted to join with the House of Winter. Here is the first-hand information we have on Asgore. He is a disciple of the Prime Servitor Calix. Asgore initiated brutal crusades against human settlements beyond the city and ravaged countless Awoken enclaves throughout the Reef. When the Queen waged war against the Wolves, Asgore was taken alive and sealed into the infamous Prison of Elders. Killing Asgore before he can join the ranks of House and Winter weakens the Fallen, strengthens ties to the Reef, and brings the city one step closer to gaining a solid foothold along the shattered coast. The Queen's forces cannot fully be explained without first-hand information on the Prison of Elders, which is a new home for the fallen House of Wolves' former nobility. For a while, the only lights were the eyes of witches tending to the cells. The drone of the soul machines echoed through the prison. Gas billowed and ebbed into the shadows. She entered. They scurried to their points around her, the method of their arrangement precise. The Archon priest has been retired, my queen, said the witch to her right. Far from the throne and audience she moved without theater. Any word of Calix Prime. We still sense something among the Anikins. The voice came from behind her. She did not turn to acknowledge it. For the span of a brief silence, she moved between the sealed cells of wolf nobility with her witches in constellation behind her. More of your brother's crows have entered the cauldrons of Rhea. The witch directly before her spoke with a dry buzz. The 9 do not approve. She stopped a moment. The sealed face of a cell, the cloud of her breath mingled with the slow exhalation of Krynox. Send them one of our prizes, something to commemorate our mutual victory. And which of your prisoners would you gift? If she paused to think, it was only for an instant. Send them Skolas. A lovely gesture. She cocked her head as if listening for a frozen heartbeat. And then remind them this: the crows are mine. We still yet meet this Calyx Prime in the future, as it is assumed all of the remaining fallen houses have one, a grand servitor that acts as both god and life giver to the fallen. The queen will most likely employ guardians to help her search. But this information also plays into the possible power struggle of the queen and her brother, leader of the crows. Reportedly, the queen's brother was quite hostile to most guardians he encountered while meeting on the reef. One could assume that this was a mere defensive reaction to years of peaceful isolation the reef has measured. Now, with the moving and bustling of a recovering city, the brother may yet fear the potential of the reef Awoken, playing a short second to that of the city. Information on the queen's brother is limited, but he can be described as the queen's confidant, spy master, and deadliest enforcer. Her brother wields enormous power, particularly for a male born in the reef's matriarchal society. Recent reports suggest he may differ from the queen on key matters of strategy, but it remains to be seen whether this is a source of conflict, or part of the reason the queen values him so highly. As the queen's spy master and advisor, it does reveal some of the difference in ideology. The queen, although brutal in action, is more neutral to admitting her need of the city, while her brother seems fairly untrustful, if not in complete distaste of working with the city. As guardians, we know fairly little of the city's consensus and its major rulings, but we can assume that the intrigues of the reef hierarchy and that of the city leaders do not mesh mildly. As always, questions yet remain. Can we yet find more allies in the dark abyss of space? Or will old trespasses keep our fledgling and recovering city from pushing forward and establishing a new golden age? We know only but a few things in our battle with the darkness. We shall not perish, we shall not retreat, we shall not give ground or embody defeat. We shall stand, much like a line in the sand. Those who are against us shall fall, for their fate is the better of all.